I'll just call your name and you can introduce yourselves. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get started. This is Romancing the Capital Online Romance Convention. And this is the Romantic Suspense panel. My name is Jodi Kendrick, and I'll be moderating this panel. And we'll just get started with introductions from all of the authors. Carrie, if you can start.
We don't have a Carrie.
Is Carrie not here?
I don't think so.
Okay, we're going to. All right, we're going to Ellis.
Oh, hi. I'm Ellis Lee. I write paranormal romance as Ellis Lee, but I also write romantic suspense and contemporary as Kristen Hart.
Okay, Olivia? Is Olivia here?
No.
No, Olivia. Molly?
Hi, I'm Molly O'Keefe and M. O'Keefe. Kinky. And I write contemporary romance, and it's a lot of my contemporary romance has a romantic suspense vibe to it. I mostly just wanted to come here and talk to people, talking to my family, and so work and make jokes and see people. So thanks for having me.
Okay. And Khloe.
Hi, I'm Khloe Wren. I just have the one pen name. I write romantic suspense, both contemporary and paranormal. Basically, I can't not write romantic suspense. I tried a couple of times and it just didn't work. So I've just accepted that and I write romantic suspense. I'm in Australia, so it's dark around me because it's nighttime here.
Okay. And Amy.
Hi, I'm sorry. Like, I'm Amy Ruttan. I write contemporary romance for Harlequin Medical's its category, and I write romantic suspense. Started writing romantic suspense in actually Desiree Holt's World's Omega team and the Phoenix Agency.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. So,
we didn't introduce Desiree.
Desiree.
Oh, Desiree. Go ahead, Desiree.
Okay. Hi, I'm Desiree Holt. I write mostly romantic suspense because I'm an addict for romantic suspense. And I'm a hybrid. I'm both published and self-pubbed. And I just love writing my books. And thank you, Amy, for being such a great author in the Phoenix Agency.
Thanks.
All right. Have we got everyone now?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So I'll just start with the first question, and then you guys can just have at it. What made you start writing in this genre, and what made you stay? We can go in the same order. So we'll start with Ellis.
Oh, my books always had a bit of a suspense aspect to them, kind of that action adventure tag, I would think, more than romantic suspense. But then a couple of years ago, I kept seeing this particular scene in my head of what ended up being my book Payback by Kristen Hart. And I didn't intend for it to be romantic suspense, but that's what came out of it. So that whole series of Justice Colorado is all romantic suspense. And I love it. I love being able to kind of do more in the suspense and the action than the romance side of it, because they are both things that I enjoy reading. So I keep a little less suspense in my paranormal, and I do more suspense in my contemporary now.
Okay, Molly.
So I was writing kind of straight contemporary romance for a number of years, and I remember we were taking a family vacation. I had two little kids; they were really little, and we were I'm in Toronto, and we were driving to Michigan, and then we were taking it was like a 10-hour drive, a 2-hour ferry to get to this island that was super rustic. And I had to pack for these little kids and myself, and then make a menu. And we had to grocery shop, and my family was there. And it was just like, I just couldn't believe the amount of work that I was doing. And at the same time, someone had handed me the first like 4 books in Suzanne Brockman's Troubleshooter series. And I started reading these books, and it was just like the energy of it, the excitement of it, and then also the idea that, like, I don't know, I just really like that someone stepped in and really took care of things. And in those books, it's always the man that's taking care of it. So it's not. Those were the books at the time. So I just love the idea, and then from there, adding that energy to my own book. So we have new people. So that was how it started. And some books lend themselves to that subplot, and some books, they're just pure contemporary romance. So I never quite know which way it's going to go.
Hi, it looks like Olivia just joined us.
Yes, I'm here. Can you see me? I can't see myself.
I can see you. You're a bit small, but do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you write, and we'll add you into the list?
Sure. So let me get closer. Does that help? Do you see me better?
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Olivia. I live in Paris, France. So for me, it's 3:00 in the afternoon, which is a very decent hour to have a meeting. I know some familiar faces. Hi, girls. And I write romantic suspense. I write bikers who are not assholes. And I write also military guys, because I co-write with someone named Shannon McAllen, who's retired military. So we throw in some military in there with the suspense.
Okay. So do you want to answer our first question right away, or do you want me to come back to you?
What was the first question?
The first question is, what made you start writing in this genre, and what made you stay?
Oh, okay. So I started writing in that genre totally by accident. I was asked by someone who was organizing a bundle, and he said, "We're going to do a bundles about bikers. Do you want to be in?" And I mean, you see me, I'm a lawyer. What do I know about bad guys? Those of you who met my husband know that, that he can ride a bicycle. That's about it. And I said, sure, why not? I'll ride a biker. So that's how I got started. And then I enjoyed it very much. And I did a lot of research. And I've never left because it was fun to write.
That's great. How about Molly? Molly, you already said yours, right?
I already got mine, yeah.
Okay, Khloe?
Yeah, I guess like when I first started writing, I wrote suspense because that's what I've always read. Even like watching movies and everything, I know I need to have that suspense element to it. So that's what I wrote. That's where my muse went. It didn't really give me an option for anything else. And that's why I still write it, because that's what the muse is doing. So that's what I'm writing.
Amy?
I never really. I'm reading it now, but I never started reading romantic suspense. But writing my category medicals, I wrote a lot of military, and I really love military heroes. So I thought I'd make the leap, and Desiree had a call out for her Omega team at the time, and I thought, why not? And I actually really enjoyed it. So now I really like it, and I love reading it. And it's just, it was just funny how I fell into it, and really enjoy staying here. And I also think writing medicals, sometimes there's a little bit of mystery, because I'm not in the medical profession, so I do have to do a lot of research to figure out how to kill people off and hurt them. And
That's the fun part.
So that's kind of fun, I guess, sometimes. So there's a little bit of suspense element there too.
Desiree?
Well, my mother and my sister were avid readers, and I grew up in a house where they read nothing but suspense. I mean, all the people who wrote then are dead, like Ellery Queen and Rex Stout and Mary Roberts Reinhardt. And from that, I moved into Mary Stewart, and somehow I just moved forward as things changed. But I think what really hooked me was I read a book by Linda Howard called Cry No More. I think it's the best book I have ever read, and I thought, this is what I want to write. And even though I have veered into other genres now and then, that's my first love. It's what I read. It's what I like to watch on television. And I have too many plots running around in my head to do anything else.
We just have a comment in the chat. Erin is streaming in from Atlantic Canada, and she wishes everyone a happy Easter.
Oh, happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
So if any of the readers that are watching, if they have any questions, just go ahead and post them in the chat. Otherwise, I'll continue with questions. So would any of you like to expand on your experience with writing suspense or mystery?
I'll start. I'll go. I find as someone who writes sort of straight contemporary romance, and for other people who do, the creating the energy that drives the plot forward can get hard, right? Like they just need to have a conversation, or someone needs to meet somebody else, and then they need to talk about the past, or it can just be this sort of plotting thing. And I find that the books that do lend themselves to romantic suspense, oh my gosh, like I find them easier to write because there's so much forward momentum. Do you guys find them easier to write, or do you get caught up in the details and trouble of like making sure the guns are the right guns, or the bad guys are the right bad guys, or like what is your experience with it?
Yeah, there is a mix. Like there's a line where you've got to like not get too caught up in all the details, but then you've got to get it right as well. Like I remember like with my bikers, the first few of them were former Marines, and I mean in Australia, I got no clue what US Marines do. So ended up reaching out, and through a reader who was in the Air Force got me on to an active duty Marine who works in recruiting, and he was more than happy to answer my questions. So it's like, one of my guys is called Mac, like MacGyver. He can do anything with his knife. I'm like, clearly a US Marine isn't going to have a Swiss Army knife. So I'm like, what do they have? So this guy answered all these questions for me, and he's got a Leatherman. And like, because I asked him what kind of knife, and he gave me this massive detail of literally everything a Marine carries on them. So I'm like, that was a little more detailed than I was aiming at, but awesome. Yes, but it's hard not to get bogged down. Like you can get that one little detail and then lose like 8 hours researching it.
Yeah.
Which seems excessive because in the end it's a paragraph. But you've got to get it right. But it's a hard kind of line to pick. Okay, when do you draw the line of going too far down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, it's interesting how some readers manage to suspend disbelief for some stuff and not at all. I remember reading a post of Lexi Blake. Now, don't get sick on us. A post of Lexi Blake saying, "I've been writing like 50 novels where people save the world by hanging out in sex club, and nobody thinks that's strange, but I write an insta love and they all say, oh no, nobody falls in love that fast." It's like, that's what bothers you?
Yeah, you get that in the paranormal stuff when you write paranormal as well. It's like they'll accept that a person can turn into, a wolf, but like change something like vampires not needing blood to live, and they're like, whoa, no, you can't do that.
I try not to get too lost in the details because that's a bad habit that I have. But at the same time, I like to be correct for my readers because people are obviously going to spot if something's wrong. I've been very lucky in finding resources. I have become very good friends with a local sheriff's deputy who is my prime consultant on everything. And I even had a problem with one scene of a woman being kidnapped at a gas station. And this guy is so incredible. We went to the local 7-Eleven that's close to me. He went inside to the manager, showed his badge, and said, "We're going to borrow one of your gas pumps," and helped me act out the whole thing so that when I showed it, it was smooth and logical. So, you know, I just
God told the attendant.
Oh, I know.
You should have videoed that, really, Desiree.
But I find over the years, and it still happens, that if I get something wrong or leave it out, that's what somebody is going to pick up. And I think it's just a disservice to my readers. So, and I like doing the research.
Yeah.
Yeah, the research is really a lot of the fun. I did the same thing as Khloe at one point. I had for the second book in my Justice series, he's an ex-Marine and, well, always a Marine, but anyway, and he kills the bad guy with a knife, and I had to look up the Marine knife, and I had to get an idea of it, and then I had to find something similar so I could kind of feel the weight of it. Like, I went full on for like a week just figuring out everything about this knife. So I kind of left those couple of paragraphs where I just needed to know how he's going to feel when he grabs that, and moved on to the rest so that I could spend my research time understanding, you know, and getting the feel of it, and truly getting, like, when you hold this thing up in front of you, how big is it? How does it, you know, how does it curve? How does it move? Yeah. And there is a lot of information available. And I do have resources. I don't have a Marine friend, but I do have Air Force. My dad was in the Army. Actually, most of my uncles were as well. So I have resources like that I get to lean on, which is nice.
Yes.
But it is a lot of fun to be able to kind of dig into that little world and all those tiny little details and see what you can find out. I'm sure government agencies love our search histories.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. It's like every government agency or every police officer says, "How can you kill someone with?" It's like, is it easy to make for? All those weird questions.
Yeah. For me, I like research too. Actually, when I started writing, I thought I was going to write historical romance, which my voice does not suit. I learned over the years, but I like the research, and I'm not a doctor or a nurse. And I got into medical romance, and I had to research. But then, yes, through the process of writing books for Harlequin, I learned what to put in, what not, because my editor would be like, "Oh, that's disgusting. That's too much detail. What do you do?" You know, I'm like, so I've sort of learned that balance. But yeah, I like the research. I like getting it right, because, you know, if you use the wrong instrument on somebody, or you don't know how to fly a plane, or so I love to do the research.
Yeah. And I love how friendly other authors are. Like, you have a research question, you throw it out there, and it's like you just get inundated with help, and it's just, I don't know, it gives you the feels. That's awesome. So it's a great community.
There's also a really good online research. It was a Yahoo group, which is now, I think, transformed to IO, called Weapons and something. And I'll have to look it up because I haven't been into it for a while. But it's all former military, former law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. And you can post a question on there and you get lots of answers to it. So there is just, and I have become really, really, really good friends with a former SEAL who is now himself a best-selling author, and he lets me pester him about everything. He was a sniper, so of course I have a lot of heroes now who are snipers.
And also sometimes we have to remember we're girls. And I had someone tell me, no, a guy reading the book saying, "No, I wouldn't do that." I said, "Why wouldn't you do that?" He said, "Well, if you had bowls, you know, we never put our car keys in my front pockets." So, okay, things learns.
All right, we have greetings from Marian Moria. She says, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Melissa Kerr says, good morning. Hope you're all safe and well.
Yep.
We have one reader who's asking if Desiree will be posting the website link. Or if you can mention it, maybe we can add it later on. Do you remember what the name of it was?
The name of what?
The website that you were just talking about.
The weapons one?
Oh,
Yes.
Was it
the-
yeah, wasn't it, Desiree?
Yes, that's right.
oh, yes, I will be posting it later. I will post it on my author page. I have to look it up because I never can remember. But I will look it up and post it on my author page. And I'll also post it on my personal page, Facebook page. So probably later this morning.
Fantastic.
Or depending on where you are.
All right, thank you. So we do have a question from a reader. From Little Miss Cheekster. She says, I have depression. I find it very hard to motivate myself to write even the smallest amount. Do you have any advice for anyone in this or a similar situation? And then she has a follow-up comment. She says, when I'm depressed, I want to read and write sweet scenes rather than suspense. So are you able to talk to the motivation question?
I've suffered from depression since I was 12 years old. I now have PTSD and anxiety issues as well. So mental health is like huge, and it is really hard to get motivated when it all comes down on your head. I went to a session, I can't remember what conference it was, but I went to a session and someone said, set your goals low. So don't set your goal that you're going to write 5,000 words in a day or even 1,000 words in a day. Set the goal at 10 words and put it up on the whiteboard, 10 words a day. Because once you get that 10 words, hopefully it'll flow and then you'll get 1,000 words. But when you get that 10 words, you get to tick off the thing on your list. Like they really pushed in this thing, like you need, okay, have the big goals, have the 1,000 words a day, but have little goals that you can do. Like when the depression's really bad and you're struggling, make it a goal to get out of bed and have a shower, because then you get to tick that off when you do it. Like it doesn't matter how basic and simple the task is. It doesn't matter if it's writing related. Like put on there to eat breakfast, put on there to drink a glass of water every hour. Like it doesn't matter how small it is, because every time you get to tick off something that you do, that's like this little mental burst of energy you get, and you can get back into it, and that helps you keep motivated. It's basically, for me, I mean, I struggle, and at the moment I'm really struggling to meet my current deadline. But you basically need to bring it right back to little goals, even if they seem insane, like 10 words a day, a goal for writing. At my worst, I just have a goal to write. Even if I get 2 words, I've done my goal. It's you had 2 more words than you had yesterday.
Yeah. I agree with Khloe. It's a struggle at times. I also suffer from anxiety. I have a chronic illness. And so like when I do my goals, I actually do them on a week basis, because on Tuesday, I may wake up and feel awesome and get 5,000 words in 2 hours. And on Wednesday, I may wake up and can barely function to get through the day. So I give myself a little grace, and so that I can say, all right, at the end of the week, I want to try and hit, 3,000 words. And hopefully I can get them early in the week. But if not, I have 7 days to attempt to get to that goal, instead of I must hit 1,000 words on Monday, and then you don't hit it on Monday because you didn't feel well or you couldn't focus or whatever. And then you don't hit your goal. So you feel worse because you feel like you failed for the day. Like you honestly, especially when dealing with any kind of mental illness, and right now, all of us with what's happening in the world, there's a lot of trauma coming at us, simply even just watching the news and seeing what's going on. You have to give yourself grace and allow yourself to say, I need time to deal with all of me, and the words will wait, because they will wait. The words will come when they come, but your health and your mental stability is far more important than that.
Yeah, you don't want to burn yourself out. I have autism as well as anxiety, and I would pretty much just kill myself staring at a blinking cursor for months, especially after my mother died. And I learned that for my process, I have high empathy, so I feel maybe not able to tell what emotions are coming at me, but they'll drain me. So I've learned that I can't stare at that blinking cursor. And just because I'm not sitting at that computer every day doesn't mean I'm not doing my work in my head. I have to think about it. So I give myself quite a bit of time to think and do something else. And then eventually the words come. And yeah, setting small goals, like Khloe and Ellis said. So that if I'm like, okay, I got a small amount of words today, the next day I get a huge amount of words. I mean, that's what I've learned. It's taken a long time to learn. But yeah, like really don't sweat it. You have to take care of yourself. You really don't want to burn yourself out. And right now, yeah, I had to step away from the news. I was watching the news every morning. I was watching our prime minister speak every morning, and I realized for 2 weeks, I can't, I got to take a break. I have to take a break from this and step away, or I'm never going to get my book written. And so, yeah, that's what I had to do. I had to learn what triggers it and what I need to do to step away.
Another possibility. I'm sorry. You want to go?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I said another possibility if you're feeling depressed and not wanting to work is having a writing partner. If you enjoy writing aforehand, then you set a time for your partner and you swap chapter. And sometimes you won't do things for yourself, but you won't let somebody else's down. So you're like, oh, I don't want to write. Yeah, but she's waiting for my chapter. She can't go on before I'm finished writing. So this motivates you to get in front of your computer and write a chapter. If it's only going to be that chapter, and even if it's not complete, and even if you got to fix it later, at least you got the story going, and then you can pass the ball to your partner.
Off and on in my life at different times, I've worked for local newspapers and I've worked for magazines. So there's always a deadline. And you don't always have in your head what it is you want to write. And I had an editor who used to say to me, get me a paragraph. I don't care. Just to get me a paragraph, even if you have to rewrite it. So there are days that I can't get my plot to come together, or I can't even think of the first line in the story. But I will sit down and I will write a paragraph that has something to do with it and walk away and think about it. And then I come back and then it starts my brain moving. You can't force the thoughts and the words. But if you don't, I've found if you don't set yourself a routine, even if it's 3 days a week, an hour at a time, you'll walk away from it and you won't do it.
Yeah, it doesn't. You don't need a lot of time to write. Like I do a lot of writing sprints, and I've got a group that I do writing sprints with, and at my best, I can get 1,000 words in half an hour while I'm sprinting. That's at my best. I get like about 50 in a 20-minute sprint at the moment. But like, if you are limited on time, there are ways to maximize the amount you can put out in that time. You don't necessarily need hours and hours of writing time a day to get your book written.
And also,
game changer. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, I was just going to remind the asker that as authors, reading is work time for us. So
Yes.
if that's what you can accomplish in a day, read those books, because you're learning as you're reading. Even if it's not in your genre, you're still learning as you're reading. So read them. If that's what brings you joy and brings you comfort, do it.
Yeah.
It's still working.
That applies to Netflix as well.
Really kicked me into the whole suspense thing, because when I read the book by Linda Howard, Cry No More, I was so impressed with it and so in love with it. I wrote my first book in an effort to create a hero just like Diaz in that book. Of course, it took me 5 years to sell the book, but at least I was working on it.
I was going to say a real game changer for my, whole like mental health writer life was learning and figuring out and then paying attention to the fact that I write best in the morning, and then I kind of fall apart. And so instead of trying to, or, I mean, if I wrote best at midnight or whatever, if you can pay attention and know and understand when you're, the most creative or the most able to sit down and get stuff done, for me, it's, whenever I wake up in the morning till about 11 o'clock, and then it slowly starts to fray until, I'm just watching Jimmy Fallon on YouTube.
Like the rest of us.
Pay attention to that, and like Ellis said, like, just be gracious to myself and understand that I can only get so much done. And some days it really is not a lot, but some days it is a lot, and the ticking things off. I totally agree with Khloe. I mean, the power of a to-do list. Holy smokes.
It's just to trick your mind, basically.
Yeah. And it is that little shot of endorphin or whatever it is that, like, oh, look at that. Look at that. Woo.
It's like, I showered today.
We're just like kindergartners, aren't we? We just want a gold star. Just give me the gold
Give me the gold star.
Whiteboard's at the peak. You need a whiteboard. And Post-it notes.
Khloe, I really want to see, is that your schedule behind you?
Who?
Khloe, your
on
schedule.
The wall?
Over there. Yeah, over on the. Oh, yeah, that's my yearly planner that had all of my events on it that I've now erased off because everything's cancelled.
Yeah.
My whiteboard's a bit further over.
Yeah. And you've got one too, Olivia.
Yes, I have one too, and it's been very sad because I've been in March. I had the Paris Book Fair, and that was canceled. And then in April there was the Le Festival des Romantiques, and that was canceled. And I haven't heard from RWA, but I very much doubt it's going to happen. So I'm like praying for Nink. It's down on it's down in September. You can't see it because it's behind my mess, but like my next thing is Nink. Please let Nink happen. Let me fly to the States for Nink.
Back on goals, and so like if you write the goals on Post-it notes and then fold them up, I'm not sure if you can see that, and then put them in a container. Because then, and I've color coded my things. Like, I've got one color for writing, one color for marketing. So, like, I can see the kind of colors, and like it builds up. And then, like, I don't know, every 6 months I'll probably empty that out. But like, so you can see that, like,
your accomplishments.
Yeah. That's just like all of our little planner souls got started.
And then I put them in the container when they're finished.
Ooh.
But yeah, again, it's my trick, but it works.
Yeah.
And that was really sweet.
All right, so back to the chat. Sylvie says, thank you, Desiree, for the website. It was her that asked the question. And there's some comments about your offices. Marianne Morian as well. Looking at you guys, I really have to clean my office. Melissa Kerr says they have great offices. And CD Gory says envy. And good morning, everyone. And we also have...
in my office. My office also needs to be cleaned. And it's full of a 14-year-old boy right now.
Yeah, I'm actually in my bedroom because my kids are awake and my basement is a disaster right now, which is where my office is. So
I'm in my living room. I write on my couch in the family room normally, but I'm in my living room because there's this lovely bookshelf behind me. See? But I actually don't write in here.
I'll show you something else.
I am actually sitting in my office at my chair on my desk.
I live by myself, so I turned my dining room into my office, and it's nice because I got television off to my right, but I can look straight ahead, and I'm on the water. I look over a nature preserve, and the water is beyond that. So it's a very comfortable place. Of course, you don't get to see all the junk, which I did before I did.
Yeah, you can tell how well we're doing writing by how clean our office is.
And we also have a comment from...
writing.
We also have a comment from SMC regarding depression. She says, I take moments, There's a little bit of typos. I also start with lists, get out of bed, brush my teeth, etc. I feel accomplished before I start work. For someone with health issues that affect the ability to travel, this, I think she's talking about the convention. This makes me feel so connected. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, awesome. Us too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, any other readers, if you'd like to post any more questions, please feel free to do so. So I have another question for the authors. Writing. Do you write the books first as mystery or suspense and then add the romance, or do you write the romance first? How do you go about doing that?
I write the romance.
Yeah. Romance.
Wow, you guys were quick with that.
Yeah. Romance first. I write in Scrivener, so I have the little side piece where I lay out all my chapters and I color code them, and so I write the romance first. So I write the book start to finish romance, and then I just start adding in like, okay, I need X amount of suspense, and I leave empty chapters in place, because usually that aspect is kind of the hero on his own and maybe not so much with the heroine. If it's a point when they're together and something's going on with both of them, then I kind of fill in as I go. But yeah, I write romance first, then suspense. That's how my brain works.
I plot the romance first, and then I think about what the suspense, because usually they're together in my suspenses. Like mine have been short, like novellas so far. So yeah, but it's always a romance first in my mind.
My book is
separated. Sorry, Desiree, you go.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Like I couldn't separate the romance from the like. I mean, I write consecutively, like from start to finish. I can't jump around, and I wouldn't be able to separate the suspense out from the romance. Like they're very intertwined. Some of my characters, like Taz, was an absolute man whore, and it was a fight to get him to get off his girl long enough for him to do the suspense part. But like, bikers are terrible. It's like, what's that start? It's like, dude, seriously, we've got shit to do. Come on. But like, I've never considered separating them out. Like it's, yeah, just write it consecutively, and whatever scene happens next happens next.
I'm like Khloe on that.
My books are all character driven. So my characters come first and the story comes from them. So there's always a relationship. And I think, what if I put them together? When I did my last Phoenix Agency book, and I like to base a lot of my characters on people that I know. So be very, very careful.
That's the dangerous road.
Don't make her mad.
It says, in the last Phoenix Agency book I did, the heroine is based on one of my best friends, and the hero is based on an intellectual property rights attorney who's a very good friend of my son's and is also a former Marine. And I thought, God, what would happen if I put these two people together? What would bring them together? And then my mind just goes from there. And I took a holdover from my sister, because she and I used to go places and play the what if game. We'd look at a couple in a booth and say, what if they're not married? What if she's running away from her husband and she emptied their bank account and now she doesn't know what to do? We'd go from there. So that's kind of how my mind works all the time. The plot comes afterwards.
Yeah, I write consecutively too. Sorry.
I was going to say I'm in the. I might be fading out. It comes in the. They come together when I do have the suspense plot. It's because one of the characters bends that way. One of the, it's hard for me to. But of course, I haven't written that many, so I would have started anyway. That was my answer. Oh, did we lose?
Olivia, did you want to expand?
No, I was just saying that I was writing like Khloe consecutively, so I may get stuck, like, they're both handcuffed and there's in a room and it's locked and nobody's coming, and I'm like, okay, how do I get them out of the box now? But I don't. Some people jump ahead and say, "I'll figure it out later." No, I'm mentally blocked. I've got to do it consecutively.
Yeah.
And I can't really distinguish the romance from the action because I think of the book as a unit and not as two parallel books. One would be a suspense and one would be a romance. The romance has to drive the suspense, like some bad choices are made because the guy is not thinking with his head.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
All right, we have another reader question from Amanda Winterstein. She says, Khloe, where do you get your inspiration? I am loving your books.
Thank you. Yeah, look, inspiration comes from everywhere. Like Desiree, I write a lot of people, like I write people in. I'm less likely to write someone in as a good guy. I do really nasty things to people that piss me off. But so kind of that's part of it. But like for storylines, I'm not sure how to explain. I guess like my head's just really messed up, and like the characters are just in my head. And they do shit, and I just write about it. So yeah, I don't know. There's little bits of real life in there. Like the first book that I wrote, Guardian's Heart. There's a scene in there where there's two firefighters, they're twins, and they're celebrating New Year's Eve, and they made their own fireworks, and they're setting off these fireworks. That's based on a couple of friends of my husband who they used to do that, and at family functions they would set off these homemade fireworks, which is highly illegal in Australia, so shh, don't tell anyone. But like so these little bits like that I grab from real life that I'll write in, but most of it's just character driven. These characters are created and you write their profile and you kind of create the character, and then they just, like your children, they run off and do their own thing, and you just kind of follow and write about it and try to guide them in the right way. But yeah, inspiration comes from anything and everything. Like I've gotten inspiration from watching a National Geographic thing, or from watching my kids run around with their friends, or it comes from every song. I'm big on music. I always have music playing. That helps me a lot. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place. But yeah, I'm glad you're liking my books. Yay!
I'll extend the question to everyone else.
I find that it's that, like, that the alchemy between like seeing something and liking it, or like watching something and feeling something about it, like, or a conversation you overhear or a story you've heard, like, so you kind of gather that, but then you need the lightning storm of what makes it personal to either these characters or creating the characters, or there's just that like little moment of alchemy. Sorry, my family's coming downstairs. I'm going to mute myself.
And sometimes you find inspiration in other people's stories of book. Right now, I'm watching Good Girls, which I just started because of confinement. So I'm in season 2, and I'm just loving it. It reminds me of Stephanie Plum, Janet Ivanovich thing. And I wish I could write suspense like that, where you have regular woman thrown in the crazy and having to deal with something that's totally out of their depth and being funny at the same time that you're being romantic and suspenseful. I'd love to be able to do that.
I actually have a funny story about an inspiration when Desiree actually asked me to write in her Phoenix agency. I was in the Northwest Territories. I was literally standing in the middle of the woods, like in Fort Smith in Wood Buffalo National Park. Like I had this rare moment of cell phone activity. I don't know. And I get this message from Desiree, and she was asking me to write for her Phoenix agency. And I said, yeah, sure. And she's like, where are you? And I'm like, would you believe it? I'm like standing in the woods. Everybody had left. We were on a hike. So everybody had abandoned me. I was worried I was going to get eaten by a bear or something. I don't know. Like a wolf. Because like Northwest Territory, there's nothing around. And I'm like, I'm in like the Northwest Territories. Like I'm way up north, like near the Arctic. And she's like, oh, really? And I'm like, and we had this conversation, and I was standing there and we were talking about her world. The whole story just played out, like bush pilots and everything. And then that's how my little series within her world was born, with this romantic suspense. Because I'm like, can you imagine if somebody got hurt out here, like, or, you know, some serious crime could happen here because like nobody's around. Like you're driving down a road for like hours with no cell phone service. Might meet somebody coming the other way. Like my brother was very specific when we were driving there. You have to check in at these points. So I thought this is like a perfect place to like do some crap and throw some, you know, like, so that's how I was in. Yeah. So anything can set my inspiration off. But, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I get mine from every place. I used to watch CSI when it was on television. And they had one episode, there was a little scene about a minute and a half long where their 4-year-old had accidentally smothered their new baby. And it just clicked in my head. And my brain kind of exploded from there. And that whole thing was the inspiration for my book, Silencing Memories. So I get my inspiration from almost any place. My brain, unfortunately, never shuts off. Much to the dismay of my family, very often, I might say.
Yeah, like little things can just set off an absolute rabbit hole. Like, I had someone suggest to me that I should write, because I'm a volunteer firefighter, and this summer was a bad summer here in Australia. I spent probably about half of January out fighting fires, and they said, you know, why don't you write that in a book? I'm like, yeah. No, I've got all these other series and I need to finish. But that, like, once the seed's planted, it just starts. And now that seed's kind of growing in the background. I'm actually doing a course on Egyptian mythology online with the University of Pennsylvania to study up on that, because I'm going to mix it in with Egyptian mythology and have that kind of behind the fires getting lit. And yeah, it's going to be a big series. It'll be out later this year. Hopefully.
That's a great idea.
Like, get this little grain of sand and it's just like rabbit hole.
Mine always starts with a character. Always. It's never like, you know, I want to write about fire. I want to write about this. It's always a character. And when Payback came about, it was a scene. How I write and how I am creative is I see little clips in my head, like GIFs. And I just kept seeing this man standing in a cemetery and looking over at this woman who he was in love with, and she didn't know it. And that's all I kept seeing. And at the time I wasn't writing any contemporary. So I kept trying to fit him into a paranormal world. And he was like, mm-mm. And like, I just kept letting that video play out and let it build until I figured out, you know, in the clip in my head, he looked so much bigger than everybody else. And I figured out, oh, it's because he's the oldest of this family who runs this town. So he has all this responsibility. So he looks bigger because he needs to be the biggest guy in town. It's not a physical thing. He needs to be the one running. And that's how it all just builds. And it takes a while, you know, for my head to spin those out. I saw the clip of what ended up becoming Elder Kennard. And probably 6 months later, I had the story in my head finally and could start writing it. I was working on other things in the meantime, but that clip kept coming back. So I just kept scribbling notes along the way. Like, eventually this is going to be a story. This is going to be a thing. I just have to get there.
Yeah, that's why when they say you can't fix a blank page, actually sometimes you can, because the story is just growing in your head before it starts on paper. So you have this idea, like you have this guy in the cemetery, and there's the seed that's planted, and you don't touch it, you just let it grow by itself.
Yep.
Yeah. How many of those do you guys have right now? Like in the back of your head, how many stories germinating? How many would you say you have right now?
8
There's
to 10.
9 on my whiteboard.
It's on your whiteboard?
There's 9 that are listed on my whiteboard. Plus there's a couple more that I haven't added. So about a dozen.
And what did you say, Ellis?
I said 8 to 10. And I also take them once they if I can't get them to go anywhere, I have a Plot Bunnies Scrivener file where I just like scribble notes in, like, hey, this would kind of be fun, and throw that in there so that I can go back to it later because it just isn't building. And that gives my brain a little bit of a break where I can stop concentrating. But yeah, probably 8 to 10 at any time. Just kind of, I'll just be random making dinner and this little picture comes into my head.
I have 2 in process right now, and I have notes for 14 more. So,
did you say 14?
yes,
Oh, man.
I gotta
my
say,
brain never shuts off, ever.
Amy, what did you say?
I think I'm about 5. Yeah. I think I'm about solid 5. I've been writing them down too. I started taking old planners because I don't use planner. I've tried and tried, and I like the stickers and crap, but I don't use them. And so I actually started taking my old outdated planners and turning them into plot books, and it's working out really well. So I have about 5 in different various plot books. I have a plot book for my medicals. I have a plot book for this. So I'm really liking that. So yeah, I've got all these thick books, thick planners and I've been filling them in and then putting the pictures of what I picture my characters to look like. And so about 5, yeah.
All right. So Amanda says thank you, and we're running out of order. And before we go, some of the authors have some giveaways, so I'd like to go ahead and talk about that, and then everyone can talk about what they're doing next or what they're working on.
So I have a giveaway. So because we're not going to the post office these days, my giveaway is audio codes for my most romantic suspense book that I have. It's called Burn Down the Night. And it's like 10 hours long. So it'll kill a day. And it's read by this guy named Leigh Sanders. Oh, did I just mess that up? Shoot. Anyway, and he is the voice in my head for Max, the character. So he's absolutely dreamy. And Samantha Brentmore just killed it as this very sarcastic and embittered and trying with all of her might to do the right thing, heroine Joan. So I have a bunch of codes. I think we decided that email me, or how about this? If you join my Facebook group, I'm O'Keefe Kiefer. Join my Facebook group. You can find it on Facebook. Just come in and say hi and let me know if you want a US or a UK code, and it is yours. Does that work? Will that work, you think?
Yeah, we'll try that.
Okay, we'll try that. So that's my giveaway.
I'm going to give away digital copies of the most recent Phoenix Agency book, which is Unexpected Risk. God, I can't remember the name of it. And I'm going to do the same thing. If you join my reader group, you'll find it on Facebook, Desiree's Darling. And I'll go in there and take all the names of all the people who have joined because of this, and everyone will get a digital copy of the book.
Would you like them to mention the RTC in the chat?
Excuse me?
Would you like them to mention RTC when they join your Facebook page?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Is anyone else doing giveaways?
I can give away. Payback is free. The first in my series is free everywhere, but I'm happy to give away the second book, Retaliate, and I'll do it a little different way. I'll go into the RTC group and just post a comment as Alice and say that I'm giving away this book, and anybody who comments on that, I'll get a hold of you and send you a code to download that ebook.
Oh, yeah, and one more thing, what Jessica said, when you join my reader group, and we welcome you, post under your name that you joined because of RTC, so that way I'll know where it came from.
I'll do a giveaway again online because, well, like our borders are shut. I don't know that I can post stuff in America at the moment.
Oh yeah.
So look, we'll give away book 1 of my Sharon MC series because today is actually the anniversary, the 3rd anniversary of that coming out. So Inking Eagle is the name of that. And I think like the others, if you join my Facebook group, it's called Khloe with K, Chloe's Kick-Ass Bikers, Beasties and Babes. Sweet tea. Because I've got to be wordy. You know, Desiree Darlings is so short and snappy. I couldn't come up with something that short and snappy. So, you know, I got wordy about it. But anyway, so if you join that and just, write RTC in the question box when you join, and we'll go from there. I'll send you a private message from there and grab your email address and send you a copy of Inking Eagle. You asked what we were working on next. I'm currently working on Silky Ink series, the first book, which is Ink and Dust. Hopefully, that book was meant to be out late April. It's probably going to be early May at this stage, but I'm working on that. And then after that, I need to write my book in Robin's Magic and Mayhem World, which is going to be called The Warrior, the Witch, and the Wombat.
And I didn't mention, somebody would smack me, I think, but I have a new book releasing next Tuesday called 0 Hour. It's the second book in my Heroes Rising series, which is about SEALs leaving the military and trying to find their place back in society again. So I'm pretty excited about that. 0 Hour.
I have my 25th medical actually releasing in paperback next month. Harlequin said the 25th was out this month. I don't know. They did it really early. They're like, yeah, your 25th is out. I'm like, no, it's not. So here it is. Baby bombshell for the Dr. Prince. And so actually he's hiding. Nobody knows he's a prince. Well, except for her. So his country's in trouble and people are trying to kill him. So it sort of has some suspense into it. So, and I'm currently writing my 27th medical for Harlequin, and it's due next Wednesday, and I'm very behind. And if it's okay, can I do a little giveaway on the RTC group? Because I don't have a readers group because I suck at marketing. Really bad. I'm so bad. So yeah, I'll do a little giveaway on the RTC group after this.
Okay, yeah, maybe if somebody in charge of RTC can post a like a giveaway post, we can go in and kind of comment with our stuff.
Yes, that would be good.
Yeah,
yes,
that way all the readers can find them easily. I think would be nice if possible.
Okay, so I'll jump in next. If you follow me on Instagram, there's a little link in the profile that says linktree/Olivia. If you click on that, you get a mailing sequence where you get a free book every week for 4 weeks. So follow me on Instagram. And that's my giveaway of sorts. And what I'm working on is a new series. The plot bunny is something it's been growing in my brain for a while. The idea is this foundation that's official and that shelters gifted children, and everything's paid for them, their education, their housing, their books, everything. And then they let you out in the world. But one day they come to you and you owe them a favor. Ooh. And you can't say no.
Oh, like
so
the mob.
I've got 4 girls already plotted, and I'm going to start with writing the prequel where the 4 of them are in that like of boarding houses where they're together before they're let out in the world, and each one will get a book.
Great.
That's what I'm on.
That's a great idea.
Damn it. Thank you.
All right. Have we missed anyone?
I've got my family standing at the door, so I'm going to I'm in the kitchen, and they're all like, thank you for having me. This was a great idea. Readers, come find us. Let us know how you're doing.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm going to check
Bye,
out.
Molly.
Great.
Have a great
Molly.
Easter. Have fun.
Bye, everybody. Hi to all the readers out there who came and spent this hour with us.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, readers.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. And see you next week.
See you next time.
Bye. Where do I close?